Thanks for joining today. It is 10 o'clock and we would like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would please mute themselves and their microphones and only turn them on when you want to speak, we would appreciate it. And when you're speaking, please announce your name before you start speaking. Thanks again for joining this morning.
Ladietrich
Anna,
Leonard.
turn it over to you for a roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Ladietrich Leonard.
Here.
Ron Jemison. Natalie Enderman.
Present.
Nayland Holman.
Here.
Darren Peterson. Laura Valdez.
Here.
Aurora Farthing.
Here.
Salvador Flores.
It is 10 o'clock.
And Mary Lindsay, presiding officer.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Anna. So we'll go to item C, approval of the minutes. And we'll need a motion to approve the minutes. The minutes were sent out. If anyone has any questions, we'll do a roll call to approve the minutes. So take a few minutes, just take a minute and look at those over. Anyone have any questions? Corrections or revisions? Okay, could we have a ask someone to make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was January 31st, 2022.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Natalie
Ms. Valdez.
Enderman, second.
And a second, Natalie?
I second.
I'll go ahead and do
Call
the
for
roll.
a vote. All in favor?
Let me go ahead and do the roll call vote for
Okay.
you, Miss Lindsay.
Yes.
Ladietrich Leonard.
Here.
This is for or against?
4.
Okay, thank you. Natalie Enderman.
4.
Nayland Holman.
4.
Laura Valdez.
4.
Aurora Farthing.
4.
Salvador Flores.
4.
And presiding officer Mary Lindsay.
4.
Motion passes, ma'am.
Okay. We're ready to go to item D, public comment.
Presiding officer, hi, Mary Winston here, and I'm speaking from a different speaker, so I don't know if I sound weird or not, but I want to make sure that we have everyone in the breakout room until it's their time to speak. So I see some different names, and we want to put them in breakout rooms and then make sure that they are let back in to be given their opportunity
Yes.
to speak. Okay.
Let me see. I see a caller. Caller, can you let us know your name, please?
Yes, this is Brandon Martin. I'd like to provide some public comment as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Martin. I'm going to be moving you. Well, actually, since it's already the public comment section of the meeting, would you like, Miss Lindsay, would you like to just keep him here?
Sure,
for the moment?
that's okay.
And then we also have Jerry Valdez. Can you hear me, sir? Mr. Valdez, you're muted.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Valdez. We're going to go ahead and move you to the breakout room until it's time for you to speak for your public comment.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Just hit accept for the invitation to the breakout room. Let's see, who else, John?
It says join now or join later.
Join now, please, sir. Yes, thank you. And then I see someone named Amy. Can you please let us know who you are?
Hi, yes, my name is Amy Legister. I'm the owner of 3D Lash and Brow Salon and Academy to say a public comment.
Oh, yes, you're one of our people who gave the written comment as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm going to move you to the breakout room as well. Just hit accept when the invitation comes on. And I see we have another board member, Mr. Jemison just joined us. Good morning,
See
Mr.
me? Can you hear
Jemison.
me? Good
Yes,
morning.
we
Can you hear
can.
me?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much.
I'm doing something different because I'm on my phone, so I'm still in New Orleans. So I just want to make sure everybody can see me good.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you
I
very much.
think that is everybody.
Okay, Anna, will we put Amy down the list after Mary Gabriel?
Yes, thank you.
I didn't get that last name, sorry.
It is Legister.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we have some public comment now. So that makes us 7
Yes,
public comment, okay. And we have individuals that will be coming in. So Brandon Martin will be our first public comment.
Mhm.
So we just wanted to make sure that we have some ground rules for Brandon, and everyone that's going to speak in public comment will be repeating those as they come in. We'd like for a public comment, state your name and who you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes. Remember, the board cannot make comments. And do you understand at this point, Brandon, these guidelines?
I do, yes.
Okay, so you can start your 3 minutes. Brandon, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, yeah, this is Brandon Martin. I am the owner of Avenue 5 Institute. We have 2 campuses in Austin, and we provide training in cosmetology, aesthetics, and massage therapy. So with regard to these draft rules, I'm in support of the majority of them. I do have 2 main concerns that I wanted to provide comment on. The first concern has to do with the 83202, the technical requirements for the curriculum standards. My concern here is in a pretty dramatic change into the way that theory and practice hours will be limited for students. And I point this out because historically, as long as we've been delivering education to our students, TDLR has always given us as schools and the students discretion on how much theory versus practical was needed in each subject within the curriculum. And so my concern here is that these draft rules remove that discretion, and I think that'll have a lot of consequences for our students, namely the fact that, for example, if a student was struggling with a theory subject, these draft rules would not allow them to attend additional theory time classes to prepare for their written exam, or alternatively, if a student was struggling with practical content to prepare for their practical exam, these new draft rules would not allow them to attend additional time for practical preparation for their exam. So, I think it's obvious there the consequences with these limitations could include lower exam outcomes, licensure rates, lower student satisfaction, and also potentially students entering the industry that are frankly not as prepared as they could be. So, my request in all this to TDLR was to continue to give schools and students discretion on how much theory versus practice time was appropriate. My second concern had to do with an existing rule, 83.120. This existing rule said that schools offering distance education could not designate more than 25% of the total hours in the program as theory. And I would just ask on this matter that the board and TDLR look at accrediting agencies and the U.S. Department of Education as a point of reference on what an acceptable distance education limit looks like. Most of these regulators, and many states for that matter, allow distance learning up to 50% of the program length. And I think it was demonstrated pretty well throughout the pandemic that students were able to succeed in distance learning limits as high or higher than 50%. I'd also suggest that TDLR look at what's happening in massage therapy administrative rules for schools. I think there's some great rule language in there that helps make sure that schools and students are operating their distance learning programs in a highly compliant manner. So I point you to those existing rules. So just here in conclusion, I couldn't find any statutory obligation for any of these changes that limit the amount of time that students practice theory, practical, or distance learning. And so I would just ask that if TDLR does feel that there is a statutory requirement for these pretty dramatic changes, that there are alternative solutions that are being considered just to give students more flexibility and balance in their learning. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay. We'll have our next presenter or public comment, Karina Santora. And again, I need to make sure the guidelines are covered. Please state your name and who you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes. The board cannot make comments. Do you understand these guidelines? Karina?
Didn't hear the beginning of them because I was watching the video, but I think I got the gist. So I'm Karina Santoro. I'm the VP of Product with Milady, and thank you for having me here today. I just wanted to speak briefly on behalf of the letter that Milady submitted on behalf of schools in Texas. And we wanted to say thank you to TDLR for all that you do to support schools and to keep moving the beauty industry forward. Similar to Brandon, we do agree with the vast majority of what was in the proposed rules. We have some concerns with 83.202, and specifically that the rules as written appear to impose unnecessary restrictions on schools by defining the full scope of the 1,000 hours while leaving out some critical topics. And so the letter that we submitted did detail by license the topics that aren't included. And it is our concern that schools, in attempting to meet these 1,000-hour requirements, will skip the topics that aren't covered and will result in professionals that are entering the profession not prepared, less likely to pass their licensure exam, and ultimately having less successful careers. So it is our recommendation that we consider returning to a combined theory and practical hour set that covers the full scope of topics required and leaves the schools with some discretion. Secondarily, we do also recommend that we follow the U.S. Department of Education and accreditation bodies in terms of distance learning hours. We want to acknowledge that we're in the early days of permanent distance education for this industry, and that will allow schools to evolve as the distance education for this industry evolves. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Santora. We appreciate your comments. Okay, so our next public comment is Renda Songer. And Renda, are you there? There's Renda. Okay, Renda, we're going to start a public comment. Please state your name and who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes. Just remember the board cannot make any comments. Do you understand these guidelines?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And you have your 3 minutes starting now.
Great. Thank you. My name is Renda Songer, and I'm the Director of Fact Education. We're a nonprofit that umbrellas the Texas Cosmetology Association and another group of Texas cosmetology educators. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for your work around what I consider to be landmark changes for our industry. We've received one clarifying question from one of our members that I wanted to share. She said schools will be able to teach the Class A barber and cosmetology operator students together for the first 700 hours. Of course, she's looking for a directive on what the last 300 hours would look like. And I know that those rules and administrative areas will be coming soon. One of the other questions that we have is on 82.120, the cosmetology operator to Class A barber curriculum standards. Of course, we're waiting on some clarification around the rules on this 300 hours of work experience or equivalent work experience, but I think my main question is I don't understand the curriculum standards in this area. I feel like when you're a cosmetologist and you have this experience, there's only one thing on here that we are not permitted to do under our license. So in essence, I feel like that's the only thing we should really have to receive training on is the thing we're not already permitted to do. All of these other areas, someone that's a licensed cosmetologist has extensive experience. So I would maybe propose the opportunity to challenge this exam if you have a certain level of experience, or certainly only be required to receive training in the area that we're not already licensed to perform this service. And then finally, just, keeping in mind that the times are changing, I wanted to also echo what Avenue 5 said in that, I would strongly consider maybe taking another look at what's allowed virtually. Education's changing, and I know TDLR is primarily interested in providing for the health and safety of our clients. So I don't know that limiting the amount of distance education serves that purpose. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming today.
You bet.
Okay, our next public comment will be John Turnage. Are you here, John? I see his name. Just wanted to make sure you could hear us. Okay. Okay, when you start your public comment, John, please state your name and who you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Board members cannot make comments at this time. Do you understand these guidelines? And we can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Welcome. My name is John Turnage. I'm writing on behalf of the American Association of Cosmetology Schools, of which I am a board member. I wanted to provide input on TDLR's draft rules under House Bill 1560. ACTS is a nonprofit trade association founded in 1924 and currently represents over 500 beauty and wellness schools across the nation, including 65 schools in Texas. As a national association, ACTS has long admired TDLR's thoughtful and collaborative approach to regulation. We, however, seek modification to the proposed section 83.202 technical requirements curriculum standards, which will limit theory and practice hours to best meet the diverse needs of students. Increased flexibility would give students the tools to best prepare future beauty industry professionals for licensure exams and success in the workforce. In reviewing TDLR's statutory obligations under House Bill 1560, we were unable to identify any requirement for limiting theory and practice hours. We found a statute that restricts distance learning to theory only, but this statute does not appear to require limits on theory, practice, or distance learning to a specific number of hours or subject. As such, we hope that TDLR would consider all options in satisfying these statutory obligations, ideally as not to restrict schools from delivering flexible education to all students. Most accrediting agencies recognized by the United States Department of Education currently allow cosmetology and barbering schools to utilize distance education for up to 50% of a program's length. Since the pandemic, ACTS is aware of 10 states promulgating non-emergency laws and or regulations to expand distance education. 4 of these states, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Washington, allow up to 50% of a program's curriculum to be taught online. 5 other states, Georgia, Kansas, Michigan, Montana, and Virginia, now allow all theory hours to be taught through distance learning. While as a national organization, we are unable to endorse a specific distance learning threshold for Texas, we are proponents of the many benefits it affords students and respectfully request consideration of increased thresholds in the final rule. If TDLR does not have a statutory obligation to set lower limits on theory, practice, and distance learning, we ask that new limits are not included in the final rule. If TDLR does have a statutory obligation to do so, we kindly request maximum flexibility and balance, such as a ceiling above the proposed thresholds as to not disadvantage the future licensed beauty professionals that we so proudly educate and train. We appreciate your consideration and are available to assist with any questions you may have about the national landscape. My name is John Turnage, and I'm writing the letter and citing it with the Executive Director of ACTS, Cecil Kidd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Turnage, we appreciate your public comment today.
Thank
So the next public comment, I'll turn back to Anna, make sure I'm correct with this because it was add on Jerry Valdez. Am I correct, Anna? Mr. Valdez, are you here? I see the name. Hi, Mr. Valdez. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear us, Mr. Valdez?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. We need, when you start your public comment, and thank you for coming today, You can state your name and who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and the board cannot make comments. We just wanted to let you know that. And do you understand these guidelines?
I do.
Thank you. So you can now start your public comment.
Okay, good morning, and thank you so much. My name is Jerry Valdez. I'm the Executive Director of Career Colleges and Schools of Texas. We've always enjoyed our coordinated efforts with TDLR, and TDLR has always provided a very common sense approach to promulgating rules as a result of the passage of legislation. We are pleased with the majority of the rules, but remain concerned with Section 83.202, technical requirements for curriculum standards. We've submitted legislation. We've submitted our comments along with our National Association and other service providers, curriculum and content providers, and all together collectively feel as if the way in which 83.202 was drafted, it unnecessarily restricts our member institutions from delivering flexible education with the flexibility to teach to all students, especially an average demand. We asked that TDLR consider raising the distance education limit above 25% and also adopting more specific rules to those found similarly with TDLR's massage therapy program. Our association has coordinated closely with TDLR on both barber, Cosmo, and of course, massage therapy. Lastly, I want to say that we want to provide the type of content that is based on the needs of our learners and that will result in the success that we have seen repeatedly over a number of years with providing skilled work, labor, and workforce to the Texas economy. Thank you so much to the advisory committee and the service you guys do and the service you provide to the state. Thank you to TDLR, Mr. Arizmendiz and his team, and I appreciate the ability to make these comments today.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. And our next public comment will be Mary Gabriel. Mary, are you there?
Ms. Gabriel, can you hear us?
Ms. Gabriel, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, great.
Thank you for joining us today for your public comment. When you begin your public comment, you state your name and who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes to complete your comments. Just wanted to let you know the board cannot make comments at this time. Do you understand these guidelines?
I do. Yes, I'm here.
And you can start your 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Mary Gabriel. I'm with Ogle School, Hair, Skin, and Nails. I can. Can you not hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, perfect. My name is Mary Gabriel, and I'm with Ogle School, Hair, Skin, Nails here in Texas. I'm not sure which meeting can and can't hear me.
Ma'am, I think you still have our YouTube playing. If you would pause that. I'll go ahead and restart your 3 minutes for you. We're ready whenever you are.
I'm so sorry. I had the YouTube meeting playing. 1 second. So just to start again, I'm so sorry. My name is Mary Gabriel. I'm with Ogle School Hair, Skin, Nails. We have 9 locations in Texas and are pleased to be able to allow comment or provide feedback today. The 2 comments the 2 topics that I would like to address very much mirror Mr. Valdez's comments. The 2 comments or the 2 areas are 1, the prescriptive nature of the technical requirements and the proposed change to 83.802 and the 25% limit on distance education in the total hours in each course as theory hours. So regarding the prescriptive nature of the technical requirements, we believe that the intent of House Bill 1560 was to reduce the barriers for licensing and feel like for the most part, that is what has happened. It's going to support greater flexibility with exception to the technical requirements in Section 202. The proposed rules, we believe, should be modified to identify the topics to be addressed under the headings of theory and practice, but then allow the schools the discretion to make the decisions about how many hours are needed in each of those topics. But we'd also like to address the 25% limit on distance education. Our position is that over the last 30 months, a higher level of distance education has been allowed due to the pandemic with temporary distance education. And we've experienced that distance education at a higher level has been quite effective and efficient for many students, as are seen in our licensure rates. We believe that this experience supports a higher threshold for distance education, in excess of 25%. That's all I wanted to provide today. We appreciate you and the advisory board and
Thank you very much, Ms. Gabriel. We appreciate you coming today.
Yep.
Okay, our next comment will be Amy Legister. And Amy, are you there? We can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming today. I just wanted to go over a few guidelines with you. When you start your public comment, please state your name and who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. The board cannot make any comments. And do you understand these guidelines?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming today. You can start now.
Good morning. My name is Amy Legister. I am the owner of 3D Lash and Brow Salon Academy. We are located in Dallas, Texas, and I'm just very thankful that you guys are letting us be here today. I came to have a public comment about the distance learning provisions. As the young lady spoke before, she stated for the past 30 months, we've been able to offer 100% online due to the pandemic. It presented a lot of challenges at first for our schools. However, we adapted, and it actually opened up a lot of doors of opportunity for many students who don't have access to schools near them within driving distance, or single mothers who don't maybe not have childcare. In August, TDLR put out the notice that temporary provisions would end November 1st. However, that did not give enough time for many students to be able to complete their course, especially since many programs take 6 months to a year to finish. So for my school in particular, that would leave about 100 students not able to complete the program, which would prevent them from becoming licensed and gaining employment, which would also be an economic loss for the state of Texas. So my petition is to allow for those students to graduate, because again, they would not be able to complete their program within that 90-day time frame. I would also like to kind of add to what the others have spoken, that to not limit the distance learning education to 25%, as it has helped so many others be able to become licensed. It allows for flexibility for working adults, which is most of the students at my school. I would like to read a letter from one of my students who will not be able to complete her program due to the November 1st deadline, as she was enrolled as a 100% online student during COVID. It says, "Dear TDLR, thank you for having the esthetician online program. This has truly been a blessing to me. I'm a single divorced mother of 3 children, and I also work full-time as a nurse on the night shift. The esthetician online program has allowed me to make a career change from making a living to doing something I truly enjoy. Most importantly, it will allow me in the future to be more present with my children and work while they are in school, thus eliminating any daycare babysitting expenses. I've looked forward to becoming an esthetician for quite a few years now. However, I have been unable to find a cosmetology program that I can attend due to having to work full-time to support my family. This online program I'm currently attending has truly impressed me because I can actually work and attend this online program, which is an answer to my prayers. Because of my need to support my family, I have been working full-time while being able to continue to work on this program part-time. I will not finish my program until March 2023. Therefore, this program, if it were to end, I would be devastated. I have put time, money, and lots of effort into my studies, and I'm so proud of the progress that I have been able to make. My whole future for myself, my children, and my final goal as an entrepreneur is all based on completing this online program. I live hours away from any physical campus and would be unable to continue my dream of becoming an esthetician. There are several factors as to why I cannot attend in person. I pray
Ma'am,
that you will take.
that's
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment today. Okay, that concludes.
Presiding Officer Lindsay?
Mhm. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
we have someone who is in the lobby. It's a caller. So we're gonna let them in because we're anticipating it's a public commenter. Can we let them in, Anna, so we can
They're in.
identify? Okay.
Caller, can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Good, thank you. Can you tell me your name, please?
Yes, it's Alicia Rivera.
Oh. Ms. Rivera, I did not receive your public comment request, but I'm not sure if we can allow you to speak or not, Mary.
Alicia, you missed the deadline.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. You missed the deadline. We just have to be fair, and I'm sorry, we do have to be fair. We all know Alicia here. She's a fantastic member of your profession. So, though we cannot, just in all fairness, take that public comment because you didn't submit the form as per the process, please email us any comments that you have, and you know the address, which is advisory.boards@tdlr.texas.gov. You can fuss at me later, okay?
I will.
I just want to be fair to everybody. I'm so sorry.
No, and I do understand that. There was just, the thing is that there are some things that have not been said that I really hope that the advisory board does take into consideration.
Okay,
And
send
I
us an
will
email.
you.
Thank you. And
Okay.
we will consider it.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. And next time, just send in
Bye-bye.
that request just in case.
Well, actually, I thought, actually there was, I had some problems sending in the request and I didn't get a response back, but somewhere it must have got lost in the mix. But I will make sure to go ahead and send in the information.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you.
Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're ready to start back. Anna, did we, the board all knows we had the 7 written comments that they
Yes, ma'am.
received. Then if everyone got to see those written comments that were sent to you for your review. Okay, so that ends our public comment. Am I correct, Anna?
Yes, that was everybody. Thank you.
And we're ready to go to staff reports.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and our first staff report is licensing division for Yvonne Lopez.
Good morning, members. How are you doing this morning on Halloween? I was hoping to see some crazy, insane costumes, but I guess no luck. Well, it's my pleasure to present the staff report to you. As personnel updates, we underwent to create some opportunities for staff to have a career path. We do have 17 vacancies in our division, and the team that handles barbering and cosmetology has 3 of those vacancies, equivalent to about 1,400 applications. Just a month. Next, we've got the statistics from 2023 so far to FY 2022. FY 2022 does reflect the entire 12 months from September 1st of 2021 through August 31st of 2022. So we've just gotten into our new fiscal year. Any questions or comments so far? All right. Public outreach, agency staff attended the 2022 National Interstate Council of State Boards of Cosmetology in San Antonio at the end of September. My division director, in addition to myself, and then members of RPM and E&E, executive, even some of our prosecutors attended the NIC conference as well. And you see some of the topics that staff went over or that were presented at that meeting. We did learn and had an opportunity to network with other professionals and other state boards. So it was really cool to be able to, you know, just network with some of those state boards that we talk to all the time and put a face to some of the names that we see come through. The instructor conversion began September 1st. So when an instructor goes in to renew their license, or if they mail their license in, they will be issued a comparable license. So if an operator instructor holds that license when they renew and they complete all of the procedures, then they will receive an operator license. All that's happening is that the word instructor on the license is being dropped off of the license. We did start discussions about the merge of barbering and cosmetology. This is something that is that really more affects the administration of the laws and rules. Some of the things that we're talking about in the summits is that we've gone from 5 laws and rules to just 2. So barbering had their own set, cosmetology had their own set, and then there was that overarching set of 1603. So we have just condensed those because there was a lot of overlap in the rules and laws. So that it'll, like I said, it'll be seen and we will be more affected than any of our professionals. The first summit that we attended was in McAllen and that we presented at. We had an amazing turnout. I was extremely excited to see the number of individuals that were there. So it's a, you know, it just kind of gives us an idea of what to expect in Dallas, Houston, and in Austin that are upcoming. All of that information is on our website, the dates, the location, and the times of all of those summits. So we hope to see some of you present at some of our summits. And then we continue to monitor our work volumes. This team currently has 2 staff outside of this team helping process renewal applications, and their assistance just allows us to be able to focus more on the complex applications or those applications that require a more specialized expertise. Our average processing time is estimated at about 30 days. And just for an idea, we have the statistics on mail-in applications. So last year in September, we received over 3,500 applications. And so far in September, we've received 2,800 applications, or just a little over 2,800. But don't fret, because we are seeing an influx of applications for student permits. So we're working through those as they come in. Customer service, big shout out to them. They continue to assist us with responding to our emails, and the emails that they handle for us are typically just information or contact information updates. So changes to their mailing address, changes to their phone numbers, their emails and such. We get about 50 to 125 requests a week. So this again allows us to provide, you know, more complex assistance to those individuals that have questions requiring specialized expertise. We do encourage our license holders to update their contact information online. That way we can focus on those more complex applications, but we do understand if they are unable to do so, they can just continue to email or use the contact us link on our website. And that concludes my report. Do y'all have any questions for me?
I have one, Yvonne.
Yes, ma'am.
In the about the instructor conversion with the license, what is the name of that transcript, the letter for a transcript request? What kind of form is that you can fill out? There's lots of instructors having comments about that.
Yeah, so They can request a letter. It's officially certification letter to transcript. That is on our website. If they just go to the main website and then click on their respective industry, I believe on the cosmetology page, it's under the out of state. And then barbering page, it should be on the forms page. I think individual, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, is there a fee for that?
There is
I
a
can't
$5
hear you.
fee for the transcript.
Say that again, please. You're breaking up.
I'm sorry, there's a $5 fee for the transcript and a $15 fee for the letter of certification.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Any questions, anyone? Okay. Thank you, Vaughn. Okay, we'll go to Customer Service Division. Jacqueline Rush.
Good morning, presiding board member and board members.
Good morning.
This morning I have a personnel update for you as well as sharing statistics for the cosmetology and barber programs for the last 2 fiscal years. I'll start off with the personnel updates. The Customer Service Division has recently concluded hiring for 5 roles, including a new manager, a quality training and performance analyst, an executive assistant, 4 embedded service representatives, and 6 customer service representatives. Our new manager is Mayra Rodriguez, who has worked in the Customer Service Division as a quality training and performance analyst, a team lead, and an embedded service representative and a customer service representative. So she's done it all. With a commitment to data-driven organization, Ms. Rodriguez has been a part of multiple successful projects in customer service, including creating new reports to display division performance and implementing a new call routing method to specialized teams for certain programs. Roxanne Olivares is our new quality training and performance analyst. She will join 2 other QTPAs in creating and producing reports for our division. She will also develop and deliver onboard training for our CSRs and will assist with special projects and day-to-day technical troubleshooting at the call center. Ms. Olivares has previously done exceptional work as a team lead and as an ESR for the Customer Service Division at TDLR. She has set a high standard for collaboration, teamwork, and project coordination and implementation for her team. Ms. Olivares first joined TDLR as a CSR in December of 2016. Our division also welcomes our very first new executive assistant, which is a new role for our division, former ESR and CSR Patricia Martinez Castellan. We also have 5 embedded service representatives that are getting started with us and 10 CSR, 6 of them which are starting for the first time on their teams today. Next, you'll see our statistics. It gives you a breakdown first of the number of emails and phone numbers that we've received each month for barbers for the barbering program in fiscal years 21 and 22, excuse me, and also for cosmetology for fiscal years 21 and 22. Usually those calls are comprised of customers who are wanting things like license status, application and renewal instruction information, access to laws and rules to answer questions they have, questions related to their education and continuing education requirements, things like that. We also take credit card payments for renewals and for initial cosmetology applications. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
I have a question, Ron Jemison.
Sure.
Yes, Ron Jemison, board member. I wanted to ask a question of, will we ever be able to renew Con Ed online or pay for Con Ed online? Continuing education.
Right,
provider.
so yeah, so
The
the
provider.
for the provider, I think that will be something that I will direct you in to our education team. Because they'll have an understanding of how they review those applications and what needs to be submitted. We're always a fan of having as much as possible available online.
Yes.
And I believe the education department can better explain if that will be possible.
Sounds great. Thank you, Ms. Rush.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I guess we're ready to proceed to the Enforcement Division with Morgan coming.
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Morgan Cumming, and I'm a prosecutor with the Enforcement Division, and I'm the co-liaison. Am I still there? Everything went blank.
Yes.
I'm the co-liaison with Victoria Meza for this program. And our report contains the normal stuff. It contains the statistics and the case summaries. The statistics are still broken out between barbering and cosmetology. Hopefully soon there'll be one. So we're headed towards that, but we're quite not there yet. What's not in the report is some personnel changes that have happened. Starting, we have within the prosecution team, we've had some people move around and transfer to different teams. And in that, we gained Sarah McKinney as a new prosecutor for the beauty and wellness, cosmetology, barbering, and massage. And Rebecca Burkhalter, who used to be with this program, has now moved over to the small and high profile team. And we currently have a vacancy for the beauty and wellness prosecutor. So if you know anybody that's interested in working for TDLR as an enforcement attorney in the beauty and wellness program, we would love to have them. Also, our inspections team had three attorneys, prosecutors. Two of them got promoted and one is moving over to the Office of Attorney General. So that entire team has a vacancy. So please, please tell people about the wonderful opportunities at TDLR as an attorney. As Yvonne mentioned earlier during the licensing report, Victoria and I did attend, let me make sure I get this right, the National Interstate Council of State Boards of Cosmetology Conference in San Antonio in the end of September. And it was a wonderful opportunity for us prosecutors to get out and talk with other boards and people from around the country to get to see what their problem spots are, as also to give some insight and possible solutions. So it was a wonderful experience and we hope to be able to do it again. So that's about it. Do y'all have any questions? No? All right. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful rest of
Morgan.
the day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to number 4 item on our agenda, and that's education examination. Rebecca Armas.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Rebecca.
Hello. Good morning, Madam Chair and Advisory Board members. My name is Rebecca Armas. I am the team lead with the Education and Examination Division, and I will be providing you with some of our statistical reports that you have here in front of you. As you see, pass rates for our barbering and cosmetology exams remain, pretty much on par for what we've had so far. Wanted to share with you, we've got, courses, and if you see the influx in the courses, it could be that some are, in the middle of being renewing as far as the providers go for continuing education, and it may make the numbers look a little wonky. Member Jemison, I wanted to address that is on the docket for our new licensing system to allow continuing education providers to be able to pay for that. And of course, as we know how development goes, it's going to be a process, but it is coming. It is coming. It is something we know that you've been asking and keep asking because it is on the horizon. And finally, I just wanted to share on the last page of the report, we did meet with our exam review committees for both our cosmetology and Class A barber groups. We met for the cosmetology group. We met to go the item pool, the pools, and to begin the new referencing process of the new textbook for the Milady Cosmetology, which will go into effect September 1, 2023. We do ask that everybody just pay attention to that candidate information bulletin, as that's where we provide all of the updates for our examination regulations. We always provide what's new on the front page there for everyone to look at. So just be sure that you're refreshing, at least once a month to make sure we haven't done much. Most of the time, it's just some grammatical things that we do, but when there's something big, we're going to go ahead and put it on the front cover for everyone to see and give you a page number. Another thing we'd like to remind all of our industry folks is we do have additional languages that we're offering for the operator, the manicurist, esthetician, and Class A barber to take advantage of the simplified Chinese and Korean for our, members of the industry that need to take those examinations in additional languages. We just want to remind everyone that those options are there. You just need to get with ESI when you register for your exam and select those options for you to take your exams in that language. Finally, I'd like to just kind of touch on our summit that we just had with members of the various divisions here in our agency. And we were down in the Rio Grande Valley. And they came out in full. It was a wonderful turnout. We were over 100 plus folks came to listen to our sessions. Just a reminder that these are in two sessions, two informational sessions, providing the exact same information. We have a morning session from 9 a.m. to 11:30, and then the afternoon session from 1 to 4 p.m. Our next stop will be in Hearst at the Hearst Convention Center, so we hope to see everyone there. And that is on November 13th. And then on November 14th, I'm sorry, November 7th. My apologies. My November 7th will be in Hearst. November 13th will be in Houston at the San Jacinto South Campus. And then on November 14th, we'll be in Austin doing our virtual sessions. Again, those morning sessions and after sessions, the same information is being processed to everybody. That's the same presentation. It's not an all-day affair. It's you choose to come to our morning session or afternoon. And for everyone not able to make one in person, virtual sessions will be the same. So we just encourage everybody again to be subscribed to our listservs for all of our information that we'll be pushing out to you. I made a comment that we're going to be like those folks about your extended warranties. It's going to be TDLR bombarding you with emails, just reminding you of every little step we are in this process of implementing HB 1560. And that concludes my report. I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions for Rebecca?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Ms. Armas. First of all, thank you so much for the hard work you're putting into everything. I saw your job being done beautifully on that day that we met in the Rio Grande Valley. But I know that the actual screen went pretty fast on the stats. So I just want to find out real quick. Do we have a very comfortable passing rate right now, just to make sure?
The thing that we'd like to share about our passing rates is these examinations serve as they're examinations for licensure. So to put it bluntly, the pass rate is the pass rate. Of course, everybody wants to see, higher pass rates, but we want to make sure that these assessments are doing what is necessary to make sure that the folks that do pass the exam are safe to work on the public, and the folks that are not successful use that report that they get, their strength and weakness report, to make sure because this again is the safety and sanitation, and this is our main line, our last line of defense to make sure that properly trained and minimally competent candidates are safe to work on the public once they receive their license. So obviously everybody wants to see high pass rates, but we just want to make sure that these examinations are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If there's not any more questions, we'll pause just a minute. Okay. We'll go to item 5. Mr. Sean O'Neill for the Regulatory Program Management Division.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Sean O'Neill, the Barber Program Specialist for the Style and Wellness Team, and I would like to point out some key items on our staff report. Current projects. We are participating in the planning and preparation for the Barber and Cosmetology Informational Summits. We're also currently involved in revising field inspection forms, licensing application, and website updates in preparation for the combining of the programs. Outreach. As mentioned, Heather Muir, Jerry Gonzalez, and Angela Sanders and I attended the National Interstate Council of State Board of Cosmetology Conference in San Antonio on September 30th through October 3rd. We were able to interact with board members and professionals in the industry throughout the country. Angela Sanders, Jerry Gonzalez, and I attended the Image Expo on October the 23rd and 24th, where we had the opportunity to meet barbers and cosmetologists throughout the state. We were also able to provide assistance to licensees with enrolling in continuing education courses, as well as answering various questions regarding their licenses and the combining of the programs. We also distributed flyers containing information on the upcoming summits where Angela and I will be participating. Rebecca mentioned those locations and dates, but those dates and locations of the upcoming summits are also listed on our website. If you have any upcoming conferences, meetings, or professional association gatherings, virtually or in person, that you would like for us to attend or present, please contact Angela Sanders or myself. And that concludes the RPM staff report, and I will be happy to answer questions or take comments at this time.
Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, then we'll go to number 6 on our agenda, Field Inspection Division.
Good morning, board members. My name is Yes, good morning, board members. My name is Ulysses Alcio with the Field Inspections Division. I'll be presenting our report. For personal updates, on September 20, 2022, Norwegian Inspector Chris Berry separated from the agency. And on
Excuse me just a minute. Is anyone else having problems hearing, or is it just myself?
No, Ulysses, can you speak up just a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. How about now?
Is that good, Miss Lindsay?
It's a little better. Everybody else here okay? Okay, thank you.
You may have to yell into it a little bit.
Okay.
It feels weird, but it's the only way we can hear.
All right.
Right. Just a little louder, right? Correct.
I'll start again. How about that? Good morning, board members. My name is Ulysses Alcio with Field Inspections Division, and I'll be presenting the personal updates for the division. On September 20th, 2022, Norwegian Inspector Chris Berry separated from the agency, and on September 30th, 2022, East Region Inspector Dennis DK Still separated from the agency to enjoy retirement. With DK's departure, the East Region band, the East High band, is currently seeking a new harmonica player. We wish Chris and DK luck and thank them for the many years of service to the people of Texas. On October 15, Lance Carolan was promoted from North Region Senior Inspector to North Region Manager. Congratulations, Lance, well-deserved promotion. Next, we have our statistics for BAC school inspections. And as you can see, the statistics below compare division performance from fiscal year 2022 with performance for fiscal year 2021. Next are the BAC establishment inspections. Same thing, the statistics below compare division performance from fiscal year 2022 year to date with performance from the same time period fiscal year 2021. A big kudos to the field inspections team for increasing those numbers on the last year. Lastly, for our current projects, in November 2021, field inspections began development of a risk-based inspection process for the Barbering and Cosmetology program in accordance with TDLR sunset review and legislation passed during the 87 regular legislative session. And the Field Inspections Division began conducting risk-based inspections in the Barbering and Cosmetology program on September 1st, 2022. That concludes the report, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
I'm sorry, Mary. Madam Chair.
Any questions, Mr. Jemison?
Yes, I did have one question for Ulysses. Ron Jemison, you were saying about the risk-based inspections, correct?
Yes, sir.
So are schools still going to be, I might have missed this, I do apologize. Are schools still getting inspected twice a year?
Correct. And if for some reason the schools, during the last inspection, we noticed some violations that are riskier than others, then we might visit them more often.
Okay.
So the point of this risk base is to focus on those establishments in schools that are not in compliance.
Understand. And also with salons and barbershops, will that be similar to like it's been before, or are we increasing the number of inspections on those? Not like, I apologize, I might have missed that when you said it.
Right, and same thing. If we do an inspection on establishment and we find certain violations that we consider to be riskier than others, then we'll go visit them more frequently to ensure that they're making those corrections and they stay in compliance.
Okay, but y'all are doing random inspections on establishments, or are you doing periodic, or are you only doing it as needed?
So we have and I'm pretty sure Eric will be more than happy to talk about this formula that we have, how we consider these risk-based, how they fall into different categories.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Jackson. If I may, presiding officer, my name is Eric Beverly, Director of Field Inspections. So, Mr. Jemison, we are conducting inspections of businesses, and we're factoring in different risk factors to ensure that we see them. But all businesses will be inspected.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Eric.
You're very welcome. Thank you, presiding officer Lindsay.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for field inspections? Okay, then we'll proceed to number 7, and that's the Mary Winston for the executive office.
Good morning, everyone. We'll see in our first section here under 7A, bill implementation update. I can barely believe it, but we are about to walk into another legislative session. First of all, we're walking into November tomorrow. Shout out to my twins who will be turning 17. And in just a couple of months, the legislative session is starting. But before that begins, we have housekeeping that we have to complete based on the actions of our legislators and that session, which was the 87th in 2021. That's what we're going to be doing here today. There were certain statutes, which we all know are laws, that were implemented by our legislature. And then we are tasked as a regulatory authority to draft rules to take into consideration and to actually implement the laws that our representatives and folks there up at the state capitol, sometimes we say the pink building, that they made for us. So we're not able to say we want this law or that. They tell us and we make it so. We give it the ability to be carried through to the best of our ability. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And once the session comes up in January, we'll start the process all over. We'll have another session, another bill implementation process. Then we'll go into strategic planning, legislative appropriations request work, and the cycle will continue to go round and round. And that's how our state government works with our agencies, and it works to help the citizens of Texas and its licensees like you. So I wanted to just kind of set a pace for what we have today. I appreciate all the public commenters. They were so valuable. I'm sure we'll have even more emails that come in with comments. Thank you in advance for those. And Derek has the task of now presenting what has been publicly posted as the draft as of today. So we're about to roll up our sleeves and get to do some work. Lastly, in this report, I just want to touch on our communication outreach statistics. And I want you to know that our website is working. So you are one of our largest, I think you are the largest program that we have. You have a lot of members in cosmetology and barbering in our in the beauty arts. And on an average, almost 5,000 of you access our website a day. Most people are from their smartphone because your guys are out there working. We do have some folks who are the administrators of the crew who are accessing from their desktop computer. Mostly, we're asking for instruction on how to renew the cosmetology license. Then we want cosmetology license exam info, how to apply for a cosmetology or barbering license by equivalence, and about the eyelash extension specialty license and the cosmetology administrative rules. So this lets us know that our website is being up to date on what is being asked. Because a few years ago, there was no eyelash extension. So we're trying to stay up to date with what you want, what you need, and to provide those answers for you. I saw Mr. David Gonzalez, our Deputy Executive Director, and if David had something that he would like to add to this, I'm going to open it up for him now. If not, that does complete the executive report.
Thank you, Mary Winston. David Gonzalez, Deputy Executive Director of TDLR. Just very pleased with the initial participation we've seen in the summits. As Mary alluded to, this is where the rubber hits the road. When rules get proposed and we get feedback, that's when we know the process is working. I am so proud of our staff for the efforts they've made in outreach, but I'm also proud of the public feedback that we're getting. This engagement, the feedback that we receive, it helps make us better. It helps make sure that we're staying on track. So these upcoming summits that are fixing to come, we have bill implementation still ahead as far as deadlines that we have to make sure that we follow through on our programming side with TDLR's programs on and our capabilities to get the information out is so important for the communication because we realize words mean something. When we communicate something to the public, they're going to hear what they think they heard and they're going to need clarification. So these summits are so important. Make sure you participate and tell the rest of the people that you know that may be busy, maybe they've got other things on their plate, but this is the single most, and I kid you not, the single most important, complex implementation we've had since my 27 years of being here because it has so many pieces. This is our largest programs, and we have got a lot of details to keep up with. So do not take this lightly. Public, keep on giving us your input. Otherwise, things can fall through the cracks. You may miss an opportunity, and we don't want that. We want to get the best that we can from the public and from our staff. So thank you very much for the participation, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you, David. Okay, are we ready to go to item F, Mary?
That is it. That concludes our report. And yes, we're ready to move on, Madam Chair.
Hey, we'll trudge on, right?
Yes.
And Derek's going to help us with that.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Derek Burkhalter. I'm the Assistant General Counsel for this program. Can everyone hear me okay with this microphone?
Yes.
Okay. It's really important that everyone be able to hear. So if at any point I start fading out or it gets spotty, please let me know because I don't want to move on unless everyone is with me. So before we jump into the rules, we have item F here, and this is just kind of a small item. We in the department have been receiving a lot of questions and kind of arguments about which devices and which services should be allowed for like estheticians. For example, microcurrent devices are a big question we're kind of struggling with. And so we don't have a lot of staff expertise on hand, and so we depend on you all. And so we were thinking that we could possibly put together kind of a specialized work group, maybe consisting of those of you who have esthetician backgrounds or knowledge. And then that way we would have a group that we can specifically go to when we have these kinds of questions or issues. And maybe we can look at putting together some sort of clear guidance through rules or through FAQs to assist the public and to assist our staff here, because, you know, we just get really difficult questions. Technology is constantly evolving, and we're trying to apply our rules as we go. So having said that, we can either, you know, appoint a current work group that we have, or we can create a new one. And so I leave it to you, Madam Presiding Officer, to kind of decide how to proceed on that.
Okay. Do we have a work group for education and curriculum work group? What, or we would form a new work group for this with some specialties? Is that what I'm hearing? Someone that can be a specialty member on this group?
Or just to have a separate group made up of people with those kinds
Subject
of
matter
backgrounds.
experts?
Correct.
Okay. Will we have to do a call out for those experts, subject matter experts? Anyone on the board that is a subject matter expert in the aesthetics subject matter that would like to be on this work group?
And Miss
I
Lindsay?
myself can be on
Oh,
that
I was
work
just
group.
gonna say, yes, I was
I can
gonna
do
say,
it.
and of course, if they don't volunteer,
I
if
can do
they're
it.
shy, I see some hands coming
No,
up
I can do it.
now, you can appoint.
Mr. Jamison?
Yes, I'll go ahead and be on it. Yes.
We do
This
have
is
Miss
Natalie
Newman.
Enderman. I'm happy to help as well.
Need one more person?
Laura Valdez, I have my hand up.
Okay, Laura, thank you. I didn't.
We can have up to 4, Miss Lindsay, if you want.
Okay, that is for Laura, Natalie, myself, and Mr. Jamison.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Is that good?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe let's just call this like the specialized services work group or something like that.
Specialized services? Okay.
After the meeting, I'll send out the updated list of all the work groups that we have.
Okay.
Great, Anna. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think that concludes item F. So items G and H, I suggest we handle them together because they're kind of like a full package. So it's really hard to discuss one without the other. So having said that, so I echo David Gonzalez's comments that we really received a great response from the public comments, some very valuable feedback. We received about 70 written comments during the 30-day public comment period. And so we've gone through those and kind of, you know, itemized them to see, you know, what subjects were coming up the most. And so I propose that we kind of tackle them based on the issues that got the most feedback. I think that will be the best use of our time to kind of just jump in and attack those issues. If there are any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in, stop me, and I'm happy to address any questions or thoughts or concerns along the way. Don't feel bad at all about interrupting me. So, having said all of that, I am now going to share my screen and it's the wrong document. Sorry, I have several documents open, so I'm trying to navigate WebEx and figure out how to get the right one on your screen. Okay, I think we have it. Does everyone see section 83.200 with some red writing on section 2 here?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. And is this large enough for everyone to see, or do I need to zoom in some more?
It's good.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to bring your attention to are just some staff changes to this section, and these are just some corrections on some references to these sections in red here. Now, so this 83.200 are the license requirements for individuals on or after September 1st, 2023. And so in this subsection 2 here, it was previously referring to the fees section prior to September 1st, and so we're just correcting it and make it refer to the fees section after September 1st. And I'll scroll down, and so this is the section that it should refer to. So it's just a minor change, it's a correction. The other section referred to the other one, so it would have been okay, but this more direct reference is preferable. And so we've made corresponding references to the curriculum in paragraph 4, and we've also made the corresponding changes in the same light to subsection B here, to subsection C, and to subsection D. So nothing substantive about those changes, just a little correction that needed to be made. Now, also with regard to this section, and let me take a look at my comments here. The most comments, as far as number, 9 commenters were opposed to this particular section because it did not include a requirement for applicants to have obtained a general education, such as a high school diploma or a GED or something like that. So there were 9 commenters, including an organization, Central Texas Beauty College, who really felt that we should have some education requirement here. So with that, I'll kind of open it up to see if there are any thoughts about making a change like that, or if we're okay with proceeding without making that change.
Derek.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, definitely, I want to speak a little bit on this myself. I been listening to a lot of the comments, been receiving some information as I'm reading details. I noticed that you're correct. There was many comments on this area. I was able to go over every single statement that was sent to us, so I was able to understand more of it. I do want to read something in verbatim because I did a little bit of research. I want our board committee and our individuals are here with us today to understand a little bit about what the outcomes can be from this itself. And I want to just share a couple. Okay with that?
Yes,
okay.
please. Yeah, sure. Whatever you'd like to say.
I did make a little bit of research and wrote some things down. Just want to make sure that I don't miss any area in particular. The first thing I want to do is I want to start by saying that I have the utmost respect for the board, especially when the recommendations are being done by a betterment of the industry. I'm so glad that everyone in this board has a voice that is respected and honored when the possibility of industry peers still have some lingering questions and concerns, which we're hearing today before we do a draft or a review on our information. After listening to the responses and remarks, I do want to break this down into three different areas. I want to talk about the outcome of not having an actual diploma or equivalence to it. I want to talk around the area of the parents and teenage girls. I want to talk also about our schools in general and our community, what the outcomes of that could be. So let me start first with the parents and teenage girls. The biggest fear of a parent, which includes myself, is having a child drop out of high school, which has serious consequences that might affect the child and their families. Students who decide to drop out of school face social stigma, fewer job opportunities, low salaries, and higher probabilities of involved with criminal justice systems. Yet we know these students who we're talking about can enter our cosmetology schools or barber schools. However, to some it may be the calling, just like last resort or outlet. To others, staying in the private industry schools may be their last and maybe only reason to be in there. But we also know there could be a hairy dropout rate. Finally, some students may not have the capability of passing the board exam, bribed by the lack of the science of reading or other areas that might affect our students if we do not have them to have a high school diploma or equivalence. Next point of the teenage girls. As many of us know, the stat says that between the ages of 18 and 24 years old, most students graduate with an 86.2% in 1996. And today we have like a 92.9% of kids passing in this area of women. By gender, women have the highest standard completion rate, and that makes me a little bit nervous when I think about what the outcomes of that could be for high schools. With that said, most cosmetologists will have a high percentage of girls in high school programs, which increase the dropout rate of students And we all, as known as a community, school districts are responsible to make sure that the students do not drop out of school, and they have the responsibility that we do as leaders. As advisory board members, I think that we have that responsibility, not just for today, but for the future of all children. When it comes to high school cosmetology barber schools, here's my biggest question and fear. Have we looked at what will happen to our high school programs if this change happens? What effects will it have? Will TA continue funding these programs when their numbers are low because we decide that they don't need to have a high school diploma or an equivalence? Will that affect our dropout rate for many schools in general? Will it also affect the outcomes of our students when they decide to go to a public school or a private school? And for our community members, as a board, we must listen just to our amazing cosmetology or barber students or individuals. We got to listen to our community. How will they react to this change? Will it hire our children if they don't have any type of education? What happens if they drop out of school and they don't complete cosmetology because they didn't have the capability needed or required with the science of reading or the understanding of these exams? Just like we heard right now when Rebecca was talking about the assessments, we understand our numbers are low, but can you imagine what would it be like if these kids don't have a high school diploma or they don't have an actual GED or an equivalence? This is my fear. So in closing, I understand that you too, and we all want to align the barbering cosmetology across the board, but in some areas may be impossible, with the outcomes to outshadow the industry and cause a huge detrimental to our city, state, or nation. So I ask the boards to reconsider that change for now until we have more data in relation to females in education as well as our industry. So I ask you to please consider this as saying that we should and we must have every possible way to make sure a student has a diploma or an equivalence to make that ability for us, for today, tomorrow, and for the future of all our children and our families. I yield the floor.
Mr. Flores, I'm sorry, Mary Winston here. Thank you so much for your comments. And I did see that Ms. Valdez had her hand up as well. And as Derek moves through the rule draft, I know that he's going to kind of make clear that of the things that are required by law to be changed. And this is not TDLR's call. It is just as I briefly spoke before, um, how we implement the change in law that the legislature gave us. So, Derek, I know you'll make that clear as we move forward. I appreciate your impassioned position, and I completely understand it. And I think Ms. Valdez was next to speak.
Hello, thank you. I was just raising my hand to ask Derek, as he's going through these, what he's putting on the screen, if you could please give me a page number to reference, because I took a lot of notes on the information that was pre-sent to us, and that way I can be in alignment with what you're talking about.
And are you talking about the page on the rule text itself, or
The page on the packet that was emailed to us for this meeting?
Okay. Let's see.
Derek, we'll help you in the background with that, because sometimes when we send things, we PDF'd it and it comes out a different way. For 83.200, Anna, what page is that? We'll find that really quickly for you in the rule packet, just so we can
That's a good
make sure
question. Once I get that, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, so we'll get that to you. Thank you.
It looks like Miss Lindsay has her hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify from my understanding, because we have a lot of questions that have been proposed. Legislative had decided that we don't need educational requirements. Is that correct? It was not a rule, it was a law?
So HB 1560 does not require that we remove all education requirements. What it does want us to do is to harmonize the requirements for barbers and cosmetologists. Now, cosmetologists had a requirement to have a high school diploma or GED. Barbers did not have that requirement. They had only the requirement for a 7th grade education. The statute does not require either of those. So we have to keep in mind, if we're going to require a high school diploma or GED in this new set of rules, it will be adding a requirement for barbers. It will be adding a regulation. And generally speaking, we try to keep regulations as light as we can and impose no more than is what is necessary. So we will have to justify to barbers as to why we're adding this new requirement when their argument will be that it wasn't causing a problem for them before. So just something to keep in mind. In my opinion, the bill does not require us to have or not have, but we are required to harmonize, which requires us to acknowledge it would be a change, a stricter standard for barbers, and we have to be very careful about that.
But it does have the opportunity to have the equivalence, so that could be something that we could look at, right?
Yes, correct. So I think the bill does give us flexibility to make this change if that's what we want to do. Of course, I don't want to make a final legal conclusion on behalf of the department. Any recommendation you make, we're going to take a close look at and decide if we have that statutory authority. But as I sit here today, I think we have the flexibility to make that change.
And from myself, I feel it's very important that we have someone that can read directions for the health and safety and welfare of the public. Okay? Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Derek.
Okay, so as far as this particular issue, I guess I'm seeking as a group, do we want to add this requirement to your recommendation, or do we not want to add it? And so we would basically
take a vote.
That may be appropriate to just vote on each issue as we go, and so it's not as overwhelming at the end.
And of course, we first need a motion.
I wanted to let everybody know that 83.200 is on page 112 of your board packet.
May I make a comment before we accept a motion to take this vote?
Yes.
I absolutely respect what's been said so far about basic education requirements, but I also instinctively desire not to add additional requirements to those which might create a barrier to entry. And I wonder if, the guidelines, being able to pass the exam already establishes a certain minimum guideline. So I'm very torn either way. I understand both sides of the argument, and I just want to make it clear that I respect all points of view with regard to this issue. So a vote on whether or not to add an additional requirement is a difficult one for me. So thank you.
And so just to kind of see what that language might look like, I'll just pull the language from the current license requirement in 83.20, and we'll just add that in. And this is just to see what it might look like.
Derek, could I say one more thing?
Yes.
As sitting on the subject matter expert committee for revising and making recommendations for the exam, we were told that that reading level is 11th grade reading level for that exam. So that concerns me very much for someone that does not have equivalence to take that exam.
Well, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
The District Learning Advisory
Yes.
Board member. I am too torn about this recommendation to harmonize. I understand the streamlining of it will help everybody, but I am concerned about the voting on it right now because I'm conflicted. Because I know our industry is a second chance industry and sometimes a last resort for a lot of individuals. And the statistics are saying that our pass rate for barber and cosmetology for written and practical are sufficient for what they need to protect the public in a safe way by performing services. I'm just a little hesitant to put an additional barrier in front of someone that needs to provide for themselves and their family, short and long term, requiring them to have additional um, high school equivalent education. What if the stats are saying right now they're passing at a decent rate? And I think creating more standards for that will make our, especially the written part, drop dramatically, which is going to affect someone being able to provide. So I'm kind of in the middle on the fence on this, and I just wanted to voice that to the board and the members.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Ron Jemison, Advisory Board, Ron Jemison.
Thank you.
I think this question is for either Ms. Winston or Mr. Attorney.
Burkhalter.
Burkhalter, yes, I got it. Let me write it down. Am I understanding correctly that we need to make this vote right now? That's all I need to know.
Yes, so this would be your recommendation.
That's what I thought. Okay, and so I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and cast this vote on the recommendation for 83.200.
So you're right. I'm sorry, you're recommending to make the change as it's presented?
I'm recommending to make the vote. To have the vote.
So, Mr.
I'm making a
Jemison.
motion to have the vote, right?
So, Mr. Jemison, when you say we're making a recommendation to have the vote, Mr. Burkhalter has presented two different ways here that this could read. The first one stated that at least 17 years old and have completed so many hours of instruction. He then offered in the option in red that says have obtained a high school diploma or equivalent or have passed a valid examination administered by a certified testing agency that measures the person's ability to benefit from training. So we have two options here that are up for consideration.
Got you. Very tough, like everyone said. Ron Jemison again, because Barbara has been so long with the 16, being 16, and also having a 7th grade education. It might say that's why the scores might have been lower for the past years. I'm not sure. But I do know that it has awarded a lot of people, like a lot of the board members have said, the chances to provide for their families and have a career so they won't go down the wrong path and, be going to doing other things in life. So with that being said and clarified to me, currently right now as it stands, if we was to say if Barbara and Cos was separate, we'd be good to go on this. We wouldn't even have to be at this point. But since they're merging, we didn't vote on that. That came from legislation, from what I'm understanding, I think. I'll make a motion to recommend the 17 years of age without the diploma, if that makes sense.
Yes, so your motion is to not include this new language in red for number 4, to pull it back
Correct.
out. Okay.
Correct.
I have a question before we go to vote, please.
The District Leonard Advisory Board, I second that motion by Ron about the 17 without the equivalent.
Can we still ask questions?
Yes.
I do have, yes, I have a question. So as far as the actual license is concerned, how is that how is it going to be? Is it going to actually say barber and cosmetology license? I'm trying to figure out what's going to be the determining factor. Like how will someone differentiate between barber and, like, who's going to be a barber, who's going to be a cosmetologist? Because is there any, I mean, I guess I know we have to harmonize the two, but do we even have to make the changes? I guess is my question.
So,
very good question.
Okay, so at the very top of the licensing, the Class A barber will remain the same. We will have the Class A barber license. We will also have the cosmetology operator license. It will remain the same. Now, what you see in front of you, the 83.200, is the general requirements. Now, where the licenses differ is all going to come in under this provision right here, where it says have completed the hours of instruction required under 83.202. Now, 83.202 provides the curriculum standards broken down for each license type. So, 83.200 generally is just for individual licensees generally, but then for each specific license type, you'll have to go down and look at the curriculum requirements for that. So, there are some licenses that are combining, like the esthetician license is not going to differentiate between barber or cos. The manicurist license will not differentiate. The hair weaving specialist will not. Even though those, you can consider those barbering or cosmetology, we will not have separate standards for them. It'll just be general standards and then individualized standards under the curriculum listed for each type. Does that make sense?
So I guess what I'm asking is, do we have to make the change of whether or not someone has to have a high school diploma or GED, as long as they've completed the hours of instruction required under 83.202 at a licensed school?
No, we don't have to make that change. And in fact, that is Mr. Jemison's motion, is to not make that change, to pull out this red language in number 4, to not have that. And that was the way the proposed rules were published. All we're voting on is whether to add in this new requirement. But no, we don't have to do it. And that's what we're voting on.
Okay.
If I can speak, please, this is Laura Valdez. So it's my understanding what we are voting on, though, is that the standards, the licensing requirements have to be the same for both Cosmo and Barber, where before they were not. And so we are deciding today what that common licensing requirement is going to be. With that said, I would like to ask a question on the number 4 that you added. When you say the ability to benefit from training, at what level will that test be administered? Will that be at a 7th grade equivalency or at a high school equivalency?
And I would have to defer to our education team on that.
It's probably a Wonderlic test.
Yeah, and in the past, those Wonderlic tests were 7th grade equivalency. And that's why I think this is an important discussion, because if that is the case, then we are truly merging what we had before. We're saying you have to have either a high school diploma, a high school equivalency, GED, or take an ability to benefit test, which is at a 7th grade equivalency. And if that is a true statement, then we're truly combining what we had before and we're not changing it for either one.
Well, Ron Jemison, that without the red writing, to be at least 17 years of age is just pretty gray with it, because it doesn't say you have to have a high school diploma or GED. But before, as you know, Laura, that cosmetology you had to, with barber you didn't. So I think that's the caveat or the dilemma we're in right now, is that we have some people, of course, that have been cosmetologists, and we have some people that have been barbers. And so merging that together is it's just a hard thing to do, because we've been trained this way all our lives. I know I have, of knowing that I know with admissions, for example, of telling people that you had to have a high school diploma or GED before you can enroll in school for cosmetology, and in barbering, telling a kid or a young person that you can actually enroll. I tell mothers all the time, you can actually enroll your child at 16, or your young man or young woman at 16 years of age in the Class A course. So now that's going to bump up from 16 to 17 from what I'm seeing on the wording, on the recommendation. Or we can say you have to have a high school diploma or GED equivalence, or we can say no, you don't have to worry about that, and you can you can be 17 and you can enroll in these courses, and we have to teach these people, young adults, to be ready to pass this exam. So once they pass the exam, that's going to let the world know, or the state of Texas know, the public, that they are able to perform these duties. So it's a big decision, as we all know, and that's why I see a lot of debate on it and questions on it, because it's done. I think it's done, and we're here doing the work of the advisory board of making the decision of which one we want to go through with. That's what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, but that's what I'm hearing. Madam
Derek,
Chair.
sorry. Mayor, can I speak?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, Derek, so thank you so much for the information. And by the way, everyone has very good points. I think what I want to say is that I don't, in no longer or any way do I want to affect our barber industry, but this merging really makes me a little nervous, thinking about how are we truly preparing our kids for tomorrow? That's what I'm talking about. It's like, this exam's not going to be an exam that you can just take and everybody will pass. You know, it's going to be a little bit different when it comes to cosmetology area. And it makes me nervous to think that that might affect everybody. But like I said, for my barbers, I get it. It's worked. It's great. I'm just concerned about all these young ladies that might want to say, I no longer want to go to high school. I want to go take this great profession, but you can't pass. And if you don't have that ability, what's going to happen? We're going to have a worse dropout rate across the nation and our state of Texas. And that's where my point is. You know, like I said again, I respect our barbers doing a great job. They're doing amazing. I don't want to do that. And that's what I'm talking about right now when it comes to the merging, that maybe it's not always going to work to have a merge. And I don't know, Derek, if there's a way that we could distinguish that, or can we even distinguish that inside this information that we want to put together? Because that's the only thing that makes me nervous about making that decision right away. I yield the floor.
Mary, this is Ray. Ray
Yes,
Pizarro,
right.
TDLR, Director of Education Examination. So I want to address the certified testing agency measures. That is, yes, somebody said the Wonder Lake. That is not us testing, right? That is, they need to provide that. I also, I want you all to know that this is the license requirements, meaning if the agency is going to issue a license to these individuals, they need to have these things prescribed. Has nothing to do on how they're being taught at the school. I just want to make that clear distinction. So if you enroll somebody, let's just say, for example, at the age of 16, you can. Even at the age of 15, you can. What we're saying is they're not going to get a license until they meet the requirements set in 83.200. So I just want to make that clear. So you have Class A barbers and you have operators, and as you said, Mr. Jemison, there were different set of requirements, is what Derek was saying. So we're looking at these individuals over here to issue a license when these requirements were met, and these individuals over here to issue a license when these requirements were met. All we're saying now is we need one set of requirements. It's either you're going to be at 17 and we'll issue that, and we won't look at high school diploma. We won't look at a certified testing agent's measure for ability to test, or we do look at those upon when they're ready to get a license. So I just want to make that clear. That's what this piece of rule is talking about.
Thank you, Ray.
Which would, Ron Jemison, very clear. Thank you, Ray, for that. Which again, well, with you clarifying it that way, if an education facility or institution enrolled someone at 16, let's say for Class A barber, for example, are you saying that once if we vote on the rule or the recommendation to be 17 years old, that they can still take the test at 16, but if they can't get the license until they're 17? Is that what I'm hearing from you, Ray?
That's what that is correct. That's part of the licensure requirement. And also,
Okay.
let me add, members, I just want to throw this out if it's relevant for your decision. The currently, not with these requirements, but currently, the barber written exam pass rate is at 40%, and the cause written pass rate is at 50%. So they're very close. They're similar, even with the current requirements that are set that are different. So I
Yeah.
just want you to know that.
Yes.
Thank
Bottom line,
you.
we got to teach. I got you. So once again, I made the motion.
Mr.
We do have
Jemison,
a
would you
motion
please
and a second.
repeat that again? The motion that without the 4, that's what we're voting on?
Madam Chair, Ron Jemison, earlier I made the motion to make the vote on the recommendations of being 17 years of age.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I got a second, but I'm not sure.
Yes, you did. Mr. Leonard?
Man, did you want to go ahead and do a roll call vote, or did you want
Yes,
more
we can
discussion?
do a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Lededrick Leonard? I think you're muted, sir.
And this is
Mr. Leonard?
asking whether I'm for the vote today or not.
Yes.
I am against the vote for today.
Okay.
So I just want to be
That's
clear.
not clear. Okay, thank you, Derek.
Okay, so this is the language we're looking at possibly adding, right? Okay, here in 4. Now, without that language, let me show you what it looks like without that language. So if we're going with Mr. Jimison's vote, this is what the rule language will look like, not including that. So we've taken that out. This is what the proposed rules had. So Mr. Jimison's motion would say, let's go forward with the way it was and not add anything. Now, if you don't want to go with Mr. Jimison's vote, then this is what it would look like. You are voting to add in this requirement.
Mr. Barcoach, I guess I'm asking the question, we're clarifying. Are we voting right now on whether we want to vote at all today, or are we voting on the new verbiage or not, or the old verbiage? Which one?
So we're basically just going issue by issue right now. And right now we're just focused on this issue, and we're going to take a vote on how to proceed. And then at the end, we can vote on the full rule package as a whole. But because we have so many issues to go through, I think it's best to vote on each individual issue to find out where we stand on those.
Okay. So I guess the clarity is not, we are voting regardless. Today we're voting. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right, Miss Mary and Mr.
Yes,
Berhofer?
Mr. Leonard.
Okay.
Yes, we are voting. So
Okay.
Mr. Jemison put forth a vote to include 1, 2, 3, which is at least the age of 17. The red part on the screen, he voted to not include that. And then could you give us that clean version without that, Derek?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what Mr. Jemison would like the board to vote on, to accept it as written as we see on the screen.
Thank you so much for that clarity, Mary. In that case, if we are in fact voting today, that's not an option not to, then I do vote for the verbiage as it is right now on the screen without the other red part. I like it just like this.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Ron Jemison?
Aye.
Natalie Inderman,
I approve Ron Stokes.
Nayland Holman,
For.
Laura Valdez,
Against.
Aurora Farthing,
Aye.
Salvador Flores,
Against.
and presiding officer Mary Lindsay.
Against.
The motion passes.
Okay. So let's see.
Anna, could we have a comfort break for just 5 minutes?
Of course.
Your call.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
Go ahead and get started.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next major issue identified by our public comments. Let me share my screen again. So you should see section 83.202, technical requirements, curriculum standards on or after August 1st, 2023. Does everyone have that on their screen?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see here, subsection A, so this whole subsection A provides the curriculum requirements for the cosmetology operator and Class A barber licenses. And it's a total of 1,000 hours. Okay, and then paragraphs 1 through 4 break down how those 1,000 hours are categorized. So you see in paragraph 1, we have 250 hours of theory with those subjects. Paragraph 2, we have 450 hours of practice with the listed subjects. And now paragraphs 1 and 2, those two added together make up 700 hours that will be the same for both Class A barbers and cosmetology operators. So students for both of those licenses can take classes, those same subjects in the same classes. Now for the remaining 300 hours, paragraphs 3 and 4 tell us the extra 300 hours. Paragraph 3 is for the operator curriculum. So operators would take paragraph 1, 2, and 3. And then paragraph 4 provides the extra for the Class A barber license. So a Class A barber would need paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and paragraph 4. So that's kind of how this is broken out. Now, 6 commenters, including some organizations, and I'll go ahead and list them, and you should have seen them in your comments. The American Association of Cosmetology Schools, Aveda Arts and Sciences Institutes, Career Colleges and Schools of Texas, Milady, or Milady, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and Vogue Colleges of Cosmetology. Now, they all wrote in comments, and some of them were very well articulated with very good arguments. But their main concern here was basically designating how many hours or limiting how many hours of theory can be taught. So they think that creating these two categorizations in paragraph 1 and 2 is pigeonholing them in, where I can't do any theory hours outside of this 250, outside of the subjects listed, or I can't do any more than the subjects listed for practice, or I can't do any more than 450. And so the argument is that currently the department doesn't break it up into those categories and require only a certain number of hours for theories. And so these commenters think that schools ought to be able to decide how to best divide up their courses between theory and practice hours, and that we shouldn't be, designating these specific exact limits on those hours. So some of the suggestions on how to fix that would basically just be adding in. So for example, in paragraph 2, if we just said and related theory, then maybe on paragraph 1, we would say and related practice. And then so that would allow the overlap. And so you wouldn't necessarily be pigeonholed into these subjects for theory and these subjects for practice for this limited number of hours. I think that's probably the simplest way of addressing that concern. And then some of the comments would also do that for these specialty hours here in 3 and 4. So we could say, or the suggestion is that we would say, we would just add in here, specialty practice, related theory, which would allow these subjects to be taught in theory hours, because the argument is you have to teach them in theory before you can do practical. And so if you don't allow any theory for these subjects, then how are we just going to jump straight into practical? And then so the idea is we would do the same thing for paragraph 4. And so, you know, like as I said, that is kind of the quickest, easiest way to make that fix to where, you know, they have that flexibility to add in, to blend together theory and practice and don't have to make very strict limitations. If we did that, we would probably want to go down the full list of specialist curriculum or curricula and do the same change in each of these.
Ron Jemison.
Yes, sir.
This for Derek. This for Derek.
Yes, sir.
With that, the way you're adding, you know, that language in, would that just do away with the amount of hours a school could do for theory and practical, and it just be at the school's discretion? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, essentially, yes. I mean, you would still have this hour requirement here. So in that 250 hours, you have to cover all of these subjects, but you're not limited to theory. If there's some practice related to it, you can mix in some practice there. And then same way with number 2 here. You have to cover all these topics in the 450 hours, but you're not just restricted to practice. If there's some related theory that comes along with it, you can teach that as well. So it maintains some topic separation, but it blends the practice and the theory together to allow schools to determine the right mix.
Okay, which would allow you to do more online.
Well, and so that brings us to the kind of next big issue for this subject, which is, I'll go ahead and scroll down to the distance learning. So we're in subsection E now of the same section. And this is what you're referring to here. We've put a 25, we've said that a school offering distance education may not designate more than 25% of the total hours in each course as theory hours. Now, the intent of this was to limit distance education so that schools won't just do all their stuff online. Because now this is where the statute does tell us practice hours cannot be fulfilled through distance education. The law is very clear on that.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that we have to limit all schools to 25% theory. In other words, we can limit the distance education without limiting all theory. So if we wanted to, you know, if the 25% is the problem, we can talk about raising that. Or if we just want to make it more clear that the 25% is really only applying to distance education, it's not about theory hours, it's about distance education. Then we could do something like, let's see, just one moment here.
Because do we have to put a percentage there?
Well, we don't necessarily have to, but we want to keep in mind that if we don't put any kind of percentage, then that may get taken advantage of.
Right, for sure.
And we run the risk of schools, you know, trying to make everything online.
That's right. That's right.
So let's see.
Okay.
So we could just add something like this at the end of this sentence. So that would say schools offering distance education may not designate more than 25% of the total hours in each course as theory hours delivered via distance education. So this wouldn't limit all schools to 25% theory, but it would say if your school is going to offer distance education, you can only deliver 25% of your course through theory hours online. So it narrows the prohibition a little bit just for the schools providing distance education and not for all schools. So, you know, there are a couple of different ideas here. We can also talk about if there were a lot of comments that wanted to either do away with the percentage limitation or raising it. There were a few comments that suggested raising it to 50% because that matches standards like Some federal standards were mentioned, and our massage our massage standards were also mentioned. So that's also an idea. But I'll go ahead and open it up for any thoughts or questions and kind of begin discussion. So we're kind of dealing with two separate things. The first is up here about allowing the blending of theory and practice. And then the second issue is about the distance education specifically, and what limitations should be on that. So perhaps, maybe let's start at the first issue at the top.
This
And,
is Natalie Enderman. Are we in discussion right now?
Yes, please.
Regarding this top area, I would just like to share that I do believe this broadens theory and practice, and I think this should, we should rely on some heavy consideration to blend the two like suggested, because I do believe this allows flexibility. Regarding the distance learning, we can discuss my thoughts on that later, but that's just my quick thoughts for the board.
Very good.
Thank you.
Valdez, and I am in agreement with that statement as well. There are a few things that I think are still missing after listening to some of the comments that were provided to us from the public. And so I would ask that we also include where, if we look at the theory and related practice, anatomy and physiology, and then do disorders and diseases, adding that word in there, the skin and scalp. And then with chemistry, adding chemistry and electricity.
Okay, and so you're referring to a couple of comments. One was submitted by Milady, and they pointed out some what they thought were missing subjects from the theory and practice for a few of the license types. I do want to talk about those, but right now, if we could focus our discussion strictly on the blending of the theory and practice, and I promise you we will address all of those topics individually.
I move that we approve the edits, adding the verbiage to the standards.
I second that.
And with that motion, I just want to clarify that we would make the same change all the way down the curriculum list for each one. So I'll go ahead and do that just so you can all see and just so we're all on the same page. So I'm down here in specialist curricula. We're talking about esthetician right here under 1. And I've added for A and B, and now I'm adding for C. The manicurist curriculum, we're doing the same thing. For the manicurist esthetician curriculum, we would make the same changes. For the eyelash extension specialist curriculum, we would make the same changes. And for the hair weaving specialist curriculum, same changes. And for the hair weaving specialist / esthetician curriculum, we would make the same changes. Okay, and I think that's it. So your motion, as I understand it, would include all of the changes that I just made in front of you to see. I guess we would also make that change to the crossover curriculum as well. just to be consistent.
Quick question, Ron Jemison, Derek.
Yes.
My question is, the recommendation to add hair weaving to esthetician course. Why was that not voted on? Or is that a recommendation to vote on?
Well,
or is that later? Mr. Jemison, yes, Ron.
So the bill, the statute did add the hair weaving specialist / esthetician license. So that license exists, whether we like it or not. And so what we're doing here is we're creating the curriculum requirements for it. So
I understand. I thought it was a recommendation. I got you.
Okay. Okay, so I think we have a motion. I think we have a second. Any other discussion or questions?
Ms. Lindsay, would you want me to do a roll call vote for you?
Yes, thank you. I was just reading, but yes, thank you, please.
Okay. LaDetrick Leonard. I think you're muted, sir.
Aye.
Ron Jemison.
Aye.
Natalie Enderman.
Aye.
Nayland Holman.
4.
Laura Valdez.
4.
Aurora Farthing. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Aye.
Thank you. Salvador Flores.
4.
And presiding officer Mary Lindsay.
Aye.
The motion passes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So now that we've kind of taken care of that issue, let's go back down. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. So let's talk about distance education. I've kind of suggested that we add this phrase at the end so that the 25% limitation only applies to distance education hours. It doesn't require you to restrict theory. Although again, distance education can only be for theory hours, cannot be for practice hours. So having said that, and kind of, well, I guess I'll open it up for discussion. Do we need to change the percentage? Is it the right level? What are your thoughts? What are your recommendations?
This is Laura Valdez. Since we just made the previous change, then that theory will include specialty theory now, correct?
Yes, as long as it's purely theory and there's no element of practice mixed in. And that's the hard limitation on these distance. So, you can, wherever it fits in the thing, in the categories, as long as the actual instruction being provided online is only theory, then you would be fine.
And you say that's law mandated, correct?
Correct. Yes, the law says that practice hours cannot be fulfilled through distance education.
I'm going to recommend that it also be changed to 50%.
Okay. And are you okay? I'm sorry.
Nayland Holman, I'm in agreement with changing it to 50%.
Okay.
This South Flores, I definitely want to agree with this young ladies here. I think one important thing to keep in mind also is we have students, whether it be their adults or our kids in high school that for some reason or other could have learning disabilities. So I think this is a great point to make sure we spend enough time supporting our industry this way.
This is Mary Lindsay, and I agree with the 50% VI that it is just the theory hours. For distance.
Okay. And so if we did make that change, we would also need to make the corresponding changes to this paragraph 2 here, because it has it broken down for each course. So we would just correct those. I'm doing now. My math is incorrect. Please
Is it possible to take all theory hours via distance learning through this change?
Well, it would depend on how the course is designed, but I mean, theoretically, it's possible.
Taking into consideration what one of the public commenter was saying about the woman not being able to finish her course, and of course I'd want her to have practical hours, but I just was curious if all theory could be taken online.
As long as it is only theory and it fits within the limitation.
That's what I was thinking too.
Right. So that young lady, Ron Jemison here, that young lady would still have to come in for the other 50% of her training for
Correct.
practical.
Yes.
That helps you out. So no matter, I understand the public comment. It was a great comment. And we have those situations happen a lot. But at the end of the day, whichever percentage we agree on, there's still going to have to be a certain percentage that they have to take inside the building, correct? Am I correct with that?
Yes, because the practice can only be done in person.
Right, okay.
Okay, do we want to make a motion and vote on this particular issue?
Laura Valdez, I'll make a motion to make these changes to the distant education that are in red.
Natalie Enderman, I will second that.
I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote for y'all. LaDetrick Leonard,
Aye.
Ron Jemison,
Aye.
Natalie Enderman,
Aye.
Malin Holman,
4.
Laura Valdez,
Aye.
Aurora Farthing,
Aye.
Salvador Flores,
4.
and presiding officer Mary Lindsay.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Now moving on to the next issue brought up by the comments. I'm sorry if my team's comments are popping up in the background. I've tried to turn off all my internal chats, but they're still popping up on the screen, so my apologies. Okay, next, scrolling up a little bit. So there were 2 commenters, including Central Texas Beauty College, that suggested allowing schools to offer a 1,300-hour course that would fulfill the requirements for both licenses, the cosmetology operator and the Class A barber curriculum. So essentially, right now the way we have it, it's a 1,000-hour course. You must take paragraph 1 and 2, and then either 3 or 4 based on which license you want. So this would just be saying schools can also offer the full package. They can offer basically paragraphs 1 through 4. And then at the end of that course, you would be eligible to apply for your cosmetology operator and Class A barber license.
Right.
So if there's any support for that idea, I can suggest some language, but I want to see what your thoughts are.
Laura Valdez, highly support that.
Okay.
I agree. I really like it.
Ron Jemison here. Would that mean, Derek, that they would apply to take both exams once they finish the course?
Yeah, they would have to complete all the same requirements for each license, including the exam. This would just say that schools have the ability to provide a curriculum that has the full package.
Okay.
You wouldn't have to get one license and then take the crossover to get the second license. You could just do it all in one run.
Right. Which in my knowledge, I would just take the barber license and have it all, but I don't know. I don't know if everybody has read the curriculums, they're very similar. So
And this is Laura. You know, the advantage to that is going to be to allow the student to be able to register for this new course, which then they can get funding for. Because right now, if they take one and then have to come back and do the crossover, they can't get funding for that second course.
Agree. More debt. Correct. No comment right now. Ron.
Okay, so this is some language that I'm suggesting that would kind of achieve what you're seeking to do. It would just add this new paragraph 5 here that just says the department may approve a curriculum that includes all the hours described under paragraphs 1 through 4. So everything right here for students seeking to obtain both the cosmetology operator license and the Class A barber license. So I think that would get straight to the point and allow for what you're suggesting.
This is Laura Valdez. I'm going to make a motion that we adopt number 5 into our rules and regulations.
Nayland Holman on second.
Ms. Lindsay, I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote since we
Thank
have a
you.
motion and a second. Lededrick Leonard,
Aye.
Ron Jemison,
Nay.
Natalie Inderman,
Aye.
Nayland Holman,
4.
Laura Valdez,
Aye.
Aurora Farthing,
Aye.
Salvador Flores,
Aye.
and presiding officer Mary Lindsay.
Aye.
Motion passes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's see, moving right along. And this goes back to, I believe it was Ms. Valdez who pointed out there were some commenters suggesting that there were missing topics in the curriculum. So let me take a look. And Ms. Valdez, you were starting to read those. I've kind of typed them in. Let me add them as I think that they should be, and if you could just review as I type and make sure they hit all the ones that you were that you wanted to suggest. So first, for the cosmetology operator and Class A barber curriculum, you mentioned diseases and disorders of the skin. You mentioned, and I'll just add to the end here the rest of them, skincare and related theory, hair removal, nail care and related theory, electricity. Now, we might want to have a specific talk about that one because it kind of goes into our discussion about what devices should be allowed. Okay, and then soft skills. And I'm really just quoting from the comment that was in all of your package from the lady and from one other individual. So I think that's all the ones for the theory on that one. And then for the practice, adding makeup, pedicuring, artificial nails. Am I still good, Ms. Valdez? Going down. I think the next was the esthetician curriculum. So under theory, wanted to add physiology and histology of the skin.
You already have physiology up at the top, so you can just add histology.
Okay. Does that work? Oh, you said of the skin. Well, let's see. I think the recommendation was physiology and histology of the skin. So I hesitated just to add it just to these because it doesn't say of the skin for those. So maybe we'll just make it clear by putting the whole phrase. Skin diseases, disorders, skin analysis, and product chemistry. I wasn't clear if skin analysis and product chemistry are supposed to be together as one item or if they should be separate as two items. Do you have a suggestion on that, Ms. Valdez?
Separate, the way you have it.
Oh, the way, so do we need that semicolon?
Yes.
Or, yes, okay, okay. Okay, next, let's see, on theory for the esthetician, wanted to add makeup and body waxing. I think it said possibly body waxing, so maybe we're not sure about that. And then on the manicurist curriculum, for the theory, wanted to add nail and skin diseases, disorders, artificial nails, product chemistry. And then for the practice, I wanted to add basic manicuring, nail art, and electric filing. Okay. Now, I think that covers all of the subjects suggested by the comment. I don't know the best way to sort of address these, but maybe open it up and see if there's any support or any opposition to any one of these particular subjects, and then we can, I guess, decide how to vote on them at that point. So I'll open it up to your thoughts.
This is Mary Lindsay, and I think we need to support those additions.
This is Laura. I think that I would like to see on under esthetician, if under practice, I think that's where it was. Yes. Can we state facial and body treatments? Because estheticians do body treatments as well.
Like that?
Yes.
Okay.
What, Ron Jemison, what do they do with weaving, Ms. Valdez?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I was asking, what do estheticians do with hair weaving? Do you know?
Not my
I'm just
area.
asking.
It's
Just
not my
asking.
area of specialty.
Okay. All right. It's just a question. I'm trying to research it.
So the esthetician license does not allow hair weaving. You would need
I thought they combined it somewhere.
you would need the hair weaving specialist / esthetician license to add the hair weaving to the esthetician.
Okay. All right.
Yes, that, this is Mary Lindsay. Yes, that was put forward for one of the new license types.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Okay. So there is a license type stating hair weaving and esthetician, correct?
Yes, the law
Yes.
creates that license.
The new law.
Right. I got you. I was just trying to figure out how they got that. The law.
Do we have a motion for a vote or just discussion?
Hold on. Derek, can you go down to the manicuring curriculum real quick, please?
I'm sorry, to which one?
Right there, manicuring. I just want to see one thing real quick here.
Okay.
Great, I see it there. I was missing one. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Laura. On the hair specialist and aesthetics license, is the number of hours up for discussion?
You're talking about this one right here with the 700 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, we can discuss
Because
that requirement.
the aesthetics license alone is 750. So why would we have a combined one, aesthetics and weaving specialist, that's less than the aesthetics?
Correct.
So the aesthetics curriculum is 750, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're saying the
You can get 2 for 1.
hair weaving
Or less
specialist /
than one.
esthetician is
Right.
less.
Right. That was my question earlier.
Ah, I see.
This is Mary Lindsay. This has been a question since the last meeting Mr. Jameson had.
It was.
And we're trying to figure that out. Is that law or is that rule?
No, it's not law.
Okay, then we can fix it.
It was just a recommendation of the work group. If you have a recommendation to fix it, we can certainly.
I thought I wasn't crazy.
No.
I think it needs to be at least 900.
It needs to be at least
300
900.
Yeah, it's 300 for the weaving and 750 for the aesthetics. So let's say 750 and 50.
So my question will be, why can't it just remain like it is? Separate.
This is Mary Lindsay. If we're going to combine them and we're having some of the curriculum that's the same, which is probably presuming disinfection control, am I correct about that? What would you subject matter experts think?
I think that it would need to, the theory needs to be the same as the aesthetics, or at least include all that's in the
Yes.
aesthetics.
Yes.
And then it should be broken down into the specialty, being
Mhm.
the specialty hours for the hair weaving, which
Just 300.
in reality, hair weaving and aesthetics is going to have very little theory that is combined.
Right.
So that's
So-
why I think the hours need to stay higher, because I don't think we have a choice of saying we don't want this license. We're required to have this
Right.
license.
I agree.
So we need to
Is
make
that true?
sure that it makes sense that all the theory that aesthetics would do, plus they need to do theory on hair weaving, which needs to match what's in the hair weaving curriculum section,
I
and
agree.
then the specialty. So at 900, I think is the minimum it should be.
Could we say 950?
Yeah.
So, we can, your recommendation can be what you want it to be, but if we're going to change the top number, then we need to figure out which of the bottom numbers would change to add up to that total number.
Sure.
So if we're going to change this to 900, then we need to decide where we increase those within A, B, and C. to make up for
Thanks,
200
Melvin.
more.
This is Natalie Enderman. I might make a suggestion. If you're increasing to 900 hours, to take a percentage of whatever each section, 175, 225, and 300 would be, and stay consistent with that. Since our work group worked hard enough to do the 700 as an advisory board, I would suggest that we just increase based on the percentage, if that makes sense to you guys.
Okay, so on that thinking, 175 is 25% of 700, so 25% of 900, I'm using my calculator. That would bring this up to 225 for A. Let's see. And then for B, 225 divided by 700. So that's 0.3214. This may not work out too clean. Let's see what that is for 900. It comes out to 289.29 hours. We just call it 290.
Yeah, you could say 290.
Let's see. Guess the remainder would be for C, so that would be, say, 900 minus 225 minus 290, 385 for the bottom. And that should add up to 900. And that would keep the percentages the same. Okay, I think that, yeah, that lines up.
Okay.
Do we want to vote on this?
Madam Chair.
Yes. Please. We have a motion?
Aurora
Motion.
Farthing, I move that we approve the changes as laid out.
Okay, if I could, it looks like we have two members of staff raising their hands, Sean O'Neill and Angela Sanders. I'm assuming they have something on point to say, so please, Angela and Sean, if you could.
I'll let Angela speak. She's we're on the same page, so I'll let her speak.
Angela?
Yes, as far as adding the body treatments to the esthetician services, estheticians, the only service that an esthetician can do on the full body is hair removal. Otherwise, they're restricted to working on the face, neck, shoulders, or arms. I just wanted to add that for that particular section. We may not, the body treatments would not be allowed by statute
You're
for an
talking,
esthetician.
you're talking about
Let's see, makeup.
right here at B? Oh,
There
or
was
no, the
one,
body,
there
here we
was,
go.
It's under B.
yes, and body
It
treatments,
says
facial and
facial
body
and body
treatments.
treatments.
Right.
Okay.
But they can address the body, arms, legs. I mean, they could do body wraps. Is that correct? Like
No,
body treatments, back treatments, things like that.
no, not by statute. Estheticians can only work on the face, neck, shoulders, or arms unless it is hair removal. They can do full body hair removal, but that's the only thing on the full body.
Yeah, and Angela's
Where is
correct.
that stipulation? I'm sorry.
So let me pull up the statute on the screen. So tells us what an esthetician can do here in 1603.2103, paragraph A4. So it gives us this list. Oh, let's see. I don't know what it just did to me. Let's try again. So E4, so it gives us this whole list, okay? So let me write down the list. It's A3, 4, 5, 6, or C. And then we have to go up to the list of services, definition of barbering and cosmetology. And going down the list, so A3, so estheticians can do cleansing, stimulating, or massaging a person's scalp, face, neck, shoulders, or arms by hand or by using a device, apparatus, or appliance, and with or without the use of any cosmetic preparation, antiseptic, tonic, lotion, or cream. So that's A3. They can do A4, which is beautifying a person's face, neck, shoulders, or arms using a cosmetic preparation, antiseptic, tonic, lotion, powder, oil, clay, cream, or appliance. They can do A5, which is administering facial treatments. They can do A6, which is removing superfluous hair from a person's body using depilatories, preparations, or chemicals, tweezers, or other devices or appliances of any kind or description. And finally, they can do C, which is in addition to all those, performing or offering to perform for compensation the service of applying semi-permanent thread-like extensions composed of single fibers to a person's eyelashes. So I believe Angela's correct in that they're limited in a way that they cannot do a full body treatment. They can remove superfluous hair from a person's body.
Right, it goes into more medical when they go with the full body.
Right. It's not in their list of beautifying person's face, neck, shoulders, or arms. So that's not full body.
Is
So
is this law that we're looking at right now?
yes, this is the statute in Texas Occupations Code, Chapter 1603.
So who, because I'm just wondering, because I know that estheticians do like back treatments, and so is there a different license that's going to allow to do that, or is that just something that's been an oversight?
So let's see, to do specifically what you're talking about would be,
Yeah, like who does body scrubs? I mean, that's a thing, right?
It is a thing that esthetician, that a lot of spas do.
They do. Does it fall under massage or no?
This is
Or is it,
Natalie Enderman.
or is it medical? It's medical somewhere, huh?
I just wanted to say that I have to excuse myself. I let Anna know that I would be leaving a little early, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Enderman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, so I don't know that I've answered your question fully, and I'm not sure that I can beyond just pointing to the statutory language and having a discussion about whether what you described fits that language. I see Angela has her hand up again.
Yes, I would just like to add those services that you're referring to, the body wraps, those are not regulated by us. Some estheticians may do those they may be doing those services more in a med spa setting under a medical director.
That's right.
And then when they are doing it that way, they're doing it as a person delegated by a medical director to
Right,
do
under
those
there.
services and
That's
not
right.
under the scope of their esthetician license. So that is becoming,
A
a
trend.
thing. So yes, so that's probably could be how they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
So
That
a
makes it legal.
spa
Mhm.
that performs just a regular spa, not a medical spa, but a regular spa that performs these treatments that we're talking about, just regular basic, it's just like a facial, but a regular back treatment or scrubs, things like that, are they breaking the law by TDLR? Or you just don't regulate it, they can do it?
So I'm going to jump in. Angela, thank you for jumping in with that. Yes, if they're under medical supervision, it's just not under our purview, or I call it, it's outside of our TDLR box. If they're allowed to do it by another way, by under a medical director, they're not breaking anything for us. If they were out there without that medical director, we may have a problem. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I think we'll just table it, but it's probably something we should talk about at another time.
Because I want to make sure, because we do have a lot of things going
And
on.
we just remove the body from B under esthetician.
Okay, so we're okay with removing and body treatments here, correct?
Yeah.
We'll just reject that insertion and leave it as is. Any opposition from anyone?
No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Where were we? I guess I lost my train of thought. We were talking.
We're talking about adding the hours, I think, in the hour part, as far as the
We were
theory.
talking, right, about the hair weaving specialist / esthetician curriculum, changing the hours from 700 to 900 and making the percentage, keeping percentages the same here. So I think we had not yet motioned or voted on that change.
I think we had a motion started, didn't we?
Yes, I
Not that I'm
believe
aware.
Aurora Farthing made a motion to approve this.
We need a second.
I'll second the motion.
Anna, you'll do a vote for us?
Yes,
Can we
ma'am.
repeat it? Can we repeat the motion, please? I'm sorry. Ron Jemison.
So as I understand it, the motion would be to change the hair weaving specialist / esthetician curriculum to require 900 hours instead of 700. The hours under paragraph A would be changed from 175 to 225, keeping that proportion, and the same change for subsection B, 225 to 290, and for C would be 300 to 385.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Anna, are we ready for a vote?
Yes, ma'am. Ledettrick Leonard,
4.
Ron Jemison,
Yay.
Natalie Inderman. Oh, I'm sorry, she's gone. Nayland Holman,
4.
Laura Valdez,
Aye.
Aurora Farthing,
Aye.
Salvador Flores,
4.
and presiding officer Mary Lindsay.
Aye.
The motion passes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along. And I'm just reviewing my notes just for a moment. Okay, it looks like the next topic is, of course, we had a lot of topics about the repeal of the instructor license. And of course, we can't do anything about that because that was a change in law. However, we did have a comment that perhaps we could add a non-license requirement for individuals who teach classes. For example, requiring a high school diploma or requiring them to pass an exam or something like that. So they wouldn't need an instructor license, but there would be basically qualifications not involving a license that they would need. I guess the idea of the commenter was to ensure that instructors have the appropriate level of knowledge and training. So if there's any support for that idea, we can take a look at what that change might look like.
Ron Jemison, Advisory Board. Just since that the license was taken away, just my knowledge and my experience of noticing what we've been seeing is just a lot of we've been getting a lot of applications or resumes for employment as well, for sure. And I know it did open up the floodgates for new school owners and things of that nature. And I'm sure in rural areas where there's not a lot of licensed instructors and things of that nature, I'm sure that that rule probably accommodates those type of schools as well. I mean, those schools as well, because it is hard to find licensed instructors in certain areas of the state of Texas. However, I was always wondering because I know teaching is not for everybody, and I know that each school education facility can screen and can train their own staff to be what they want them to be. But I think that, as we all know, that taking away that license did hurt a lot of people, and I personally think it took a little hit on our industry. But I think where my view came in on it was when we were combining the Class A and the operator or barber and cos, was that you had one where I think to be an instructor you had to have a high school diploma or GED if I'm not mistaken. But I think that now removing some of them things, what can we, is there something that we could put in place for an instructor, actually, if somebody's going to teach, to have something like that? If not, then it is what it is, and we just roll with it.
Well, and I would just point out that schools would be free to impose their own requirements on individuals who teach courses at their schools. So I guess the question comes down to, should it be a state regulation, or is this something that the individual schools should be allowed to determine on their own?
The Detrick Leonard Advisory Board. This, I guess, a question for Derek. If we couldn't necessarily make it statute where there has to be a license, and I understand that each school could have their own internal training program that they could probably provide, that helps the individual school. But overall, as an industry, is there anything we can do? Is there a minor certification? Is there a protocol? Is that something that sets aside someone, for example, who just got their cosmetology license last month, and now this month they're saying they want to be an educator? Under our current situation, um, they will be allowed. And I just think, as Ron was saying earlier, I think our industry kind of takes a hit or has taken a hit um, because of that. And again, understanding that we can't change it because it's law. What can we do? What's available? Because our numbers, as far as the written test, at some point is going to start reflecting that lack of training for educators, along with maybe even some of the performance level of the students that are being taught by those unqualified educators. So is there something we can do as far as TDLR goes that may not be statute, but it's just something we can do from a regulatory point of view to get them certified, or some kind of training that's required for overall for all schools?
Well, so removal of the instructor license was a result of the sunset recommendation to deregulate instructors. So I think we're maybe on a little bit thin ice when we try to regulate instructors, kind of in contradiction to that recommendation. You know, it's possible that we could impose something like a high school diploma requirement or something like that, but again, we run into, the department is trying to implement these sunset recommendations, and we don't want to kind of do something that's contrary to those. So I would throw out the idea that, you know, maybe before we assume there's a problem, we kind of wait and see how this plays out. And if we see that it is a problem, then it, you know, we can look to make a change at that point. And I do want all of you to keep in mind that after we hopefully adopt these rules, you know, in the coming weeks or months, we will do a follow-up cleanup rulemaking where, you know, we look into some of, you know, the smaller detailed issues. You know, right now we're just trying to get the broad kind of mechanical framework into place. And so we're just looking for kind of deal breaker issues. But smaller issues, we can take a closer look at those in a follow-up. So this might be one of those types of issues. I don't know.
Okay.
At this point, Mary Winston, TDLR, as Derek has said, this is a directive, and we don't have the option of not accepting it, correct? So on the regulatory end, there's nothing that we can currently do, particularly not at this moment, right? But what can you do? If you have someone who's coming in to be an instructor and you don't feel they're qualified, that's on you. We're not
Correct.
dipping into your business to that degree. But at this point, this is the will of the legislature based on sunset recommendations. So our hands are tied as to putting any sort of stipulation on this right now. The license is currently gone.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. So there was another issue that I feel that we should discuss, and that is about substantial equivalence licensing. Bear with me for just a moment. Okay, so this is section 83.28, substantial equivalence and provisional licensure. Scrolling down. Okay, and this subsection K here is what I want to address. If an applicant for a Class A barber or operator license has not completed the hours required under this chapter or Chapter 82, documented work experience may be substituted at the rate of 25 hours per month worked up to a maximum of 300 hours, or the applicant must complete the balance of hours required in an approved Texas school. Now, we got a lot of questions as to whether these 300 hours of work experience can be applied towards the regular curriculum requirements. And the answer is no. This is a very specific provision that only applies to substantial equivalence licensing. Now, what is that? Now, that is when someone holds a license in another state that has standards that are substantially equivalent to Texas, and they come in wanting a Texas license. So they already hold, you know, basically the same license in another state. It just maybe has shorter hour curriculum requirements or something like that. And so this is a provision that is only for that situation. And in that situation, those individuals can substitute 300 hours worked in their state, not in Texas, not unlicensed activity in Texas, in their state that they were licensed for. That's what substitutes in. So I think there was a lot of confusion about that, and hopefully that clarifies it. I was thinking about possible clarification here. Let me take a look at my notes.
And I guess something that will really be brought forward during the summit meetings, I would hope.
For us to make that clarification?
Yes, don't you think that's
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that we can address to the larger audience. Okay, so here's my recommendation. Type it in here. So I've added that little phrase that you see in red. And I think this makes clear that we're talking about work experience performed in the state that they were licensed in. We're not talking about work performed in Texas. And that will clarify any appearance that it allows unlicensed activity or that it can be used just for a student who's missing a few hours. That this is only for people who are licensed in other states with the same basic license. So I think that gives a little bit more clarification and maybe clears it up a little bit. So I'm interested to know your thoughts.
I agree. Looks great.
This is Mary Lindsay. I agree that where it says license is very important. Great addition.
Ron Jemison, I concur.
Okay. Is there any opposition to that change? Do we need to take a vote? Okay. Okay, so as I said, we had 70 comments. There were a lot of good ideas. I've covered the ones that had the most attention and the ones that I kind of rang for me as changes that should be made. I'm not going to try to cover all of the others. A lot of them were just questions as to how does this work or how does that work. A lot of them were complaints about statutory changes that we can't make. I think we've covered everything that I kind of felt that might need to change. But at this point, I want to open it up to any other concerns that you all had after reviewing the comments or just your own thoughts as to whether any other changes need to be made before we vote on the full package.
Sorry about that. I had a couple of things that I wanted to bring up if I can. The first one, and just correct me, there were a couple of times where I saw an August 1st date, other times where I saw a September 1st date.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I can give you some examples. Let me see where I found one.
Well, and
I'm like, am I missing something or they're not connection with one another?
no, you're spot on, and that's a very good observation, and we intended to do that. And so, what we've done is basically on September 1st, the new license requirements take effect. And the new license will have the new curriculum requirements. But for schools, we've made an August 1st date for the new curriculum because the schools are going to have to prepare for the fall semester. So beginning August 1st, a school looking to have a curriculum approved is going to be looking for approval under our new section 83.202 here. Okay, so on August 1st, these curriculum standards apply to schools for curriculum approval. But on September 1st, these standards will apply to licenses. So on September 1st, if you're applying for one of our new licenses, you're going to have to meet the curriculum standards listed in 83.202. Let me scroll up a little bit to show you what I mean. So these will be the new licensing requirements. And as Ms. Valdez pointed out, they take effect September 1st. So the August 1st date is really to accommodate the schools. It's to allow them to get approval for their fall semester. It's to allow them to prepare their curriculum before the new curriculum requirements are imposed on license requirements. And that's why we have the month separation. I hope that makes sense.
That clarification. The other thing, one of the other things I wanted to bring up was on the barber's license for continuous education. I know there were some comments on that. And according to what you currently have, those continuing education requirements are not starting until September 1st of 2025. And the question is just, is that too long? of a time to give them.
Okay, so you're referring to, so we're, sorry to make you dizzy again. We're up here in section 83.25, license requirements, continuing education. So this carries over for cosmetologists, continuing education requirements that will be imposed on barbers. If we scroll down, this subsection L here, it says that barbers are exempt from these requirements until September 1st, 2025. Now, the reason for that delay is because this is going to be a big change for barbers, and they're going to need time to adjust, and the continuing education providers are also going to need time to adjust. Now, we're dealing with a 2-year license here, and so when the new licenses take effect on September 1st, 2023, a full license term is 2 years from that date. And so that brings us to the September 1st, 2025 date. So all we're saying is barbers, for that first round, you don't have to do continuing education. But after that date, your next renewal, you will have to. So this is only to allow them time to make the change and to allow them a full license term before they have to renew. In other words, we don't want them to have to renew their old license with this brand new requirement. So we're letting them have a full license term before we impose it on them September 1st, 2025. And I know that not everyone is happy with that, but when we make difficult changes and impose new restrictions, we have to give people time to adjust to that.
I just wanted to bring it up as a question because I know there were some people that shared their concern about that.
Certainly.
Nayland Holman, I have a question about, I guess I just wanted to kind of revisit the November 1st deadline for the online version of the classes. Before I go any further, was that law or is that something that we could have negotiated?
Okay, so what you're referring to is not included in the proposed rules, but I'm happy to kind of talk you through it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so these were temporary distance education provisions that were put in place when COVID hit us.
Okay.
And they were based on the governor's executive orders that came out. If you remember way back then, every week or two, we got a new executive order. There were 40 of them total. Now, those orders allowed schools to do more online learning. But those are no longer in effect. And so we can't lean on that authority anymore to allow for this. And the law now does say you cannot do you can't do practical hours online. So
Okay.
we can't just keep allowing this. We don't have the governor's order to point to anymore, and now we have to comply with the statute.
Got
And
it.
so that's why we've had to draw a line there.
Got it.
And
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Burkhalter, are we finished with discussing G and H, or we have to go into H now?
so we've covered G and H together.
Okay.
If we're out of discussion, then we can have a motion to recommend adoption of the proposed rules with all the changes that we've voted and agreed on today. So that's everything in red that I've put up on your screen so far that we've approved. The motion would be to recommend the commission adopting the rules with those changes.
Laura Valdez, I'll make a motion to amend it based on the red marks that we have made.
Nayland Holman, I second.
Okay, there'll be a vote, Anna?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ledettrick Leonard,
4.
Ron Jemison, Nayland Holman,
4.
Laura Valdez,
Aye.
Aurora Farthing,
Aye.
Salvador Flores,
Derek, does that include also the change on the high school part that we're talking about that I disagreed on?
Yes.
Yes.
We voted to not require the
Yes.
high school diploma.
So that's on there, right?
So that's not a change. That was how we had, so we voted to not make any changes, to not include that additional requirement.
Okay. Against?
Presiding Officer Mary Lindsay.
Against?
The motion passes.
Thank you, board members. Just to kind of, where do we go from here? So we are going to take your recommendations. The department is going to analyze them and, make sure that they are all something that comply with the statute and within the department's ability to do. If there is anything that, we have to red flag for those reasons, we will take your recommendation as it is today to the commission. But we would have to explain to the commission why the department staff thinks that we can't do certain things. I'm not saying that will happen, but it's possible. And so we're planning on the commission meeting to be December 6th, and we will take your recommendation to the commission. They'll get to see all the public comments that you saw, and they'll get to hear from the department. And at that point, they will make their decision on whether to adopt the rules and whether to make any changes. If everything goes according to plan, we will have the rules effective January 1st with those delayed effective dates of August for the curriculum and September 1st for the licensing. So that's how it's going to play out from here. So thank you again for your participation today. It was a very great discussion. I think it was a very productive meeting, and I'm very satisfied.
Thank you, Mr. Burkhalter. Okay, so we'll proceed to item I. Is that correct, Anna?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's recommendations for agenda items for the next board meeting. Any recommendations? Okay. If there's not any, then we'll go to item J, discussion of date and time and location of next board meeting. I presume we'll still be online. Am I right, Anna?
Yes, ma'am. I will poll the board for our next advisory board meeting. It'll probably be after the legislative session is over next year.
Okay. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for all your hard work. I know everyone put a lot into this research and then your hard work today. And it's great that the industry can depend on an advisory committee like yourself. And thank you again. And so we need a motion to adjourn.
No, ma'am, you can just adjourn.
Okay, we'll adjourn again. Thank you, and thanks for everyone.
Thank y'all.
All the